welcome to the second half of this wonderful evening, and thank you for being such wonderful audiences. I really can everybody hold up their sheet facing me. I want to see what's written. Can I see stuff? I'm seeing some content. I'm seeing, that's wonderful. Can I see more? It's name and shape today. Wonderful. If you need, hopefully after a couple of drinks, the pen will flow more smoothly and we get a lot more written in the second half. So we have just the right program to kick us off for our second half of this evening. And the program is called Art for Life, right? And we have just the right person to even compare. We'll come to that soon. But many of us really worry about losing the culture that India represents. I mean, we all talk about it, we worry about it. We're losing the traditional culture that India represents, right? And it's been a conversation in boardrooms, it's a conversation in our own rooms. Some of us put our kids to learn, traditional singing, dancing, but we see that that culture is not sustaining itself, right? And we all recognize that we can't continue to pay money to make this thing happen. We can't keep funding that and contributing to that to happen. It's not possible for us to just keep doing that on an ongoing basis. So what excited us when we saw Art for Life was they turned the solution on its head. They said we don't need, people to keep giving money to these artists for these artists of their goodwill or sense, right? And what they've done is they've converted artisans into artist communities that now run like micro enterprises, like mini businesses. And they have figured out their market. Those artists have understood through Art for Life how to tap into the markets that really care about the product they're selling. Whether it's global markets or it's national markets. And now they don't need a hand up anymore. They run rich programs that sustain their village, sustain their community, and they invest in innovating and not just preserving and sustaining, but actually innovating their art form. And then the beauty of it is it's not just done in bits and pieces. Like we've seen everywhere else, they've created a methodology. And they're in many, many districts. They've identified many more. And without taking away their thunder, we let them tell us about their story. And moderating the session is Jamal, our very own founding member. His wife, Praveen, spends time, she has invested in the art space itself, and she understands it herself. And Jamal is a very colorful individual and is the right person to represent Art for Life for us today. So straight after the video, I will ask Jamal to introduce the rest of the panelists and take us through their wonderful story. Anju?
Here we are. Very good. Guys, Amitabh, Eric. First off, before we start, I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to say a couple of things. One is I want to get into Joe and Karthik. I mean, this is fantastic. I don't know anything about anything. I only come to these things for the drinks. And also to be inspired. Every time I go to any of these NGO things, I come back and say, my God, the world is more fabulous than you can imagine. That's why I don't watch TV. I'm going to stop reading newspapers. Because this is the reality, It really is fantastic. And everything we've heard in the earlier session was great. The best thing by far was that young guy from the government. I don't know where he's gone. Because what was so beautiful, all of us feel everyone in the government is a pain in the ass, And he was a guy who said, I want to make a difference. And there is no doubt that he's just like anyone else. Everybody wants to make a difference, So that's the ticket that we need to catch. Anyway, enough from me. It's about these guys. Or this guy. Bhajan, I wanted to ask you a question. How did you get started? I mean, we understand, I guess everybody, the video is pretty good. You understand what you're doing. How did you get started? How long ago? and you have about a minute to tell us.
I'm an engineer passed out of IIT Kharagpur, 10 years of software, 5 years in TCS, was in TCS Bombay, started my career. Then 5 years in Silicon Valley, came back in 99. 2000 I started BANGLANATAK.com. In Bengali, Bangla is local. Natak, direct translation is theatre, overall umbrella is culture. .com, connecting to the globe. So, use local culture for development and creating opportunities. The theme of the organization. While in 18 years, got further educated, got a fellowship from LSE on alternative economics, understood a little bit of it. 18 years of rural India, understood that only through the urban class, poverty may not be able to be alleviated. What we feel as a skill, many of the places, skill may need to be redefined based on what they have. India is a gold mine in traditional art and culture. Can't we tap that? And can't we think that skill can create an enterprise, that can generate resources, and that can be shared amongst the communities? That is the theme based on which we created our products.
Fantastic. Now, okay, technical question, right? In terms of, product development, like how do you decide? Because see, there's any number of art forms. There's any number of art forms all over the country. So how do you choose? I mean, do they come to you? Do you have program officers who go out looking? And then I assume you do some quality check.
2000 I started my organization. 2004 I conceived Art for Life. I did not conceive Art for Life just like that. While doing communication for development using theatre, I realized poverty alleviation is very important. Obviously knew about Bengal, rural Bengal and other places, rural Bihar. Identified the local folk art forms. And then we realized that, let's say, a Baul artist in Nadia, fantastic singer and a dotara player, doesn't understand that that's a skill that he can encash. Art forms are more like a passion as far as the performing art. So we identified poverty-driven areas, marginalized villages who have traditional art forms. That's how my mapping starts. And on the day one I started with 17 people. Now we have 102. So it's not me, and me. No, it's us, and us. And that important, I did not stay in a hotel to go there, identify and come back in the evening. I stayed with the villagers, did a work study, did a process study, understood that, what makes them exciting about it. As I mentioned, what is a skill to us in the urban class may not be a skill for them. Here is very important that we have cashed on is the pride. Social economy, see in 18 years of my development, I do not come from development sector, but 18 years of development sector I understood one thing. A livelihood, when I started I thought economic empowerment. Now I understand engagement first and then economic empowerment. That's why one of the data is important. None of the 45,000 artist families that we work with in the villages, there is not a single out-migration. Nobody migrated from village to city. In any of the development parameters, that is where the key success comes.
That's fantastic. Eric, now you have been supporting them for some time, right? And one of the questions that we touched base on earlier is, I want to refer for a minute to the video where you said that there is some tourism potential. I mean, people have been coming and staying there. And my thinking is that tourism is the key source for livelihood. And how do you feel something like Banglanatak could use tourism, inbound tourism, to scale up?
Tourism is probably a byproduct of what Amitabh is doing in the community. I'm essentially here as a witness. UNESCO has been a partner of Banglanatak.com for about 10 years now. And I'm simply here to tell you that if you're looking for impact, if you're looking for scale, you have seen how this project over 10 years has gone from nothing, from nowhere on the map of anybody, to being on the map of international organizations like ours. UNESCO is involved in a range of activities. First, our mandate is first and foremost in education, but we're better known for what we do in the field of culture. We are probably better known in the field of culture for World Heritage Sites. We had very recently the addition of Mumbai on the World Heritage list as the 37th World Heritage Site. Congratulations to all of those who worked at the community level, by the way, to get that inscription. But I think that more and more there's a focus that we place on intangible cultural heritage. And intangible cultural heritage in India is particularly rich. It's very rich, it has been underlined, you all know it better than me, but the full potential for intangible cultural heritage has not been reached in India. Very, very far from it. There are art forms that are disappearing every day throughout the country. The average age of the practitioners, as we heard in the video, is quite old. And there's a need to perpetuate, make these practices better known, better celebrated. I know that we are here in Mumbai, and Bollywood is very nearby, and that's wonderful for the Indian economy. But there's potential in the far reaches of the country in ways that have not been realized. And Banglanatak.com, over the space of 10 years, has proven that you can nurture these art forms, which were in the process of disappearing, train new generations, create income, make sure that women, in fact, benefit in a way more than men, because I think 60% of the beneficiaries at least are women, that youth also get a chance to learn a new art form if they didn't know it, benefit from this and be recognized. So tourism comes, to answer your question, much after. Once you have done all of this work, you can consider bringing tourists into the community for the day initially, and perhaps some of them, as it happens now, can stay within the community, which is yet the next stage. But clearly, tourism is a byproduct. I should stop at that.
So it's really community that you're talking about. I have a question though. I mentioned this to you when we spoke on the phone. What about the impact of technology? I mean, everybody wants their MTV, Now what you said was beautiful, that nobody has left. So do you see that as that is obviously a continuing threat, right? How do you address that actively, or you just believe that what you are putting out is strong enough that people will stay? Anyone goes, let them go.
In Artful Life, our focus is village, artist and art. All three have to go together. See, before Banglanatak came to place, everybody knew the art forms. You knew Dokra, you knew Bhattacharya. You did not know who is making that Dokra or which village is making that Dokra. That is what we made the difference. Now, when we are representing village, artist and art, artist is an individual, village is a collective of people in a particular space. So, when our artist is getting recognized, socio-economic improvement, next generation coming forward, then artist is becoming artist plus. Aspiration increases. Next generation, if my son needs a computer, his son also needs the internet, right? And now mobile is everywhere. So we need to pass on, facilitate the computer knowledge, the internet knowledge, the training, the English knowledge. That's very important. Then comes the village. The village that used to be marginalized. 2004, when I first visited the Bhattacharya village, Bhattacharya is a scroll painting where they basically go to different people, show. People used to give them rice and dal. People used to think them as beggars. Now it is no more a beggar's village. It is the artist village. That's why from 8 people to 252 people. And why I'm saying this, the next generation, the target is not only that. They need to know the technology. They need to know the internet market. They need to know the presence. Third important is people coming in now. Tourism, you mentioned. People coming. They need to talk about. Nobody wants to get that, like you are great. Meeting in equal level. So technology, knowing, knowledge. So guess they are knowing something from this. So that is putting the recognition on. So to answer you, yes, keeping today's world and tomorrow's world in mind, we are doing whatever possible. At the same time, we are exposing them to different places, taking them to Goa, Calcutta, different places abroad, People are coming, interactions, they're learning every day from the new spirits.
I got a signal from this. The last question is for both of you. How do you multiply? See, India is like infinite. So how do you multiply what you are doing by, let's say, 20? What do you need? And what are you going to give them all of that? No, really, what is needed to multiply by 20?
See, we have a model in place, we have done it in Bengal. See, firstly, I must mention that we have not taken a single corporate money so far. Second important, this is my first meet like this where I'm meeting corporate people in the last 18 years. So obviously, I'm not in a rush to make entire India art for life applicable in one day. It's not that. So, you know, I'm here to share a model. It is possible. There are few states where culture is strong, it is dying, poverty exists, marginalization is there. And that will not be in the cities. That will be in the rural belt. Telangana, Odisha, Rajasthan is very, very important places for that, where really things can be changed. And the target, if you say, I'm 51, I don't want to, I feel by 65 I should retire, if I'm alive. In 14 years' time, we should be able to alleviate 100,000 families out of poverty. We have done 40,000. 60,000 we should do. In my 14 years, that's my direct impact. Indirect impact is multiple. So we need trained resources. We are ready to train people if NGOs come. Second, fund. Always important. We don't need fund. Fund the local NGOs who will do it. And third, important is that don't expect scale up in a day. It will take 14 years. 7 years needed. If you 5 years, 3 to 5 years needed for 3,000 to 5,000 in any new state, then it will be faster. We have seen 733. So that's why I've calculated. To reach 100,000, I'll need about 11 to 14 years.
First of all, I want to correct a misperception because UNESCO is not the World Bank. We're not a funding organization. So we work with other partners to make sure that the right projects go in the right hands. So in this case, the project is funded and supported by the government of West Bengal, and we are working with, we have chosen Banglanatak because we know they can deliver to organize this project. So that's an important aspect. I also want to underline that I came here because this is an opportunity to say to all of you that if this project can take off with, admittedly, the passion of one man and a team, in one particular area, it is possible in other areas. And they've got to be young men and women, a little bit younger than the Amitabh or me, who can take over the mantle and make this same thing happen in other parts of India. For us, this is also important to showcase Banglanatak in UNESCO fora, as it has been done in Paris and elsewhere around the world, because it's also an inspiration for other countries. In other words, if it is possible here in India, in West Bengal specifically, it must be possible in other countries that I happen to cover, from Bangladesh to Nepal, Bhutan, and so on. So it is an inspiration, and it can be an inspiration much beyond, as it has already been.
Great. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to mention one thing, in case of social inclusion, please don't think that, India is the only place where social inclusion is important. Everywhere. Hungary, how to include Roma communities, any of the cities, very important. In Scotland, Highlands of Scotland, the elderly population and depressed suicidal rate is very high. Why? Because of out-migration. So their cultural engagement needs to be there. Thirdly, flamenco, which is from the Andalusia. The villages are drying, absolutely drying. Rather, it is on the tables of Madrid restaurant. This is important for traditional art form and cultural engagement to think of the whole world. Now, do you think Banglanataks can work everywhere and do it? No. We can only create a model, local people can come in, and if any of the funder is interested to support the local people, it will be a wonderful thing. We started in Bengal. Why did we go to Bihar? Because Bengal is well known for its culture, not Bihar. We wanted to see whether they are applicable in Bihar. It worked. Then we also took it to Goa. What is the similarity between Bengal and Goa? Nothing. But Goa social inclusion is important, very important. Everybody thinks everything in Goa, even till date, as we speak today, untouchability exists in Goa. This is very important. That's why social inclusion is very important all over the world, and Art for Life has a solution for that. Thank you.